Hello, this is Richard from the Metal Cell podcast. I'm delighted to welcome Thorsten and Pat from Veil of Sound website and webzine. Would that be correct? What way do you want to put a name on it?
I'm like, depending on which background you're asking. If you ask our web wizard, he would probably say website.
Yeah.
Me, coming from the old times when punk still used fanzines, I would probably say webzine. So.
Webzine, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'd just like to do your little shout out there. It says, lifting the veil for underground music. What you will not find here are reviews for records that are run-of-the-mill chart breakers. Man, I like that. We should have no doubt about what's coming down the lines for reviews and stuff with that.
Yeah, we only review Britney Spears and NSYNC.
Yeah, I'm wearing the T-shirts, as you can tell, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that, Thorsten, what were you wearing?
I mean, like, being a German, I got to support the German bands. So I'm wearing a shirt by a now defunct band called Red Apollo.
Right, okay, cool.
Perfect post-metal. Maybe the best German post-metal band ever to come out of Germany.
Ah, there you go, man. It's important to name check as many bands as we can throughout this interview as well. Or chat, as I should
we will
say.
do plenty of that, Richie, yeah, don't you worry.
So, let's talk about the creation of Veil of Sound. Can you give us a background on it, Thorsten, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I mean, basically, in some ways, it all started 1.5 years ago, nearly 2 years ago, when I started writing for a Belgian webzine. And I had been writing like 21 years ago. I had already been writing reviews and stuff for a German magazine. And so I just started again, picked it up, really got back into it, loved it right from the start. I love putting my thoughts on music to pen and paper. Mm-hmm. And the only thing that really bothered me was the percentage of stuff that I was doing. There were times at that webzine when I basically wrote like 75-80% of all the stuff.
Okay.
And then came a time late last year when I asked the editor, like, shall we do something different? Shall we try to get other people in? And he agreed to do that. So I got other people on board, just people like Pat. And well, then came a day when, for some reason or other, we wouldn't run the old scene anymore, but came up with something new. I think for something that was created within, Pat, I think, 48 hours or so?
At least, yeah. It was crazy. It was a brainstorm over Messenger.
Yeah.
Get this up and get it running, and man.
And then we took like 5 weeks to create the whole page. We got to give a shout out to our webmaster, Sebastian, without whom we would all be nothing.
No,
yeah.
Nothing.
And
I wouldn't even be on here tonight, only for Sebastian.
Oh, really?
I wouldn't know how to use Zoom. It's crazy. Like the man is a talent and a half. He's a wizard, isn't he, Thorsten? Yeah.
More than a wizard, like magician, wizard, whatever you want to call it.
And how difficult was it to come up with the name?
Pat, that goes to you. How difficult do you think it was?
It wasn't difficult at all, really. We had a short window, like, so we basically threw a few ideas out there. There may have been 10 or 12 names. Yeah. Some were short and some were lengthened, and we basically had a vote. We had a vote online, and Veil of Sound came out tops by quite a distance, actually. I think it's a great name. It is. Like, as you said, the tagline there, Richie, lifting the veil. I mean, you couldn't say any more. Lifting the veil on underground music. It's fantastic. Like, yeah.
And what's your background, Thorsten? First of all, are you a professional musician, part-time musician, wannabe musician, or just an absolute lover of the music?
Well, I think the latter is definitely true for like all my life. Mm-hmm. I was in a band like years and years ago, but I wouldn't call ourselves professional. Yeah. We played some punk, like my favorite band over there, Boy Sets Fire. So like emo, post-hardcore punk, whatever you want to call it. But then, you know how life is, it gets in your way. Yes. And we split up, and I concentrated on university and all the things, and also like did a part-time writing at the site. And then, like 2005, I became a real teacher full-time. And since then, I've been like always trying to get back into it. And, as I said, 2 years ago, there was the chance I took it, and here we are.
Yeah, cool. And Pat, you're based in Cork?
Based in Cork, Richie, I'm a stone throw away from you, sure, as you know. But
that's right, yeah.
Musically, it's just a love of music for me. I don't have any talents otherwise. Musically, like I've tried drums, guitars over the years. The piano came recently, as you know, Richie. We spoke about this.
Yes.
So that's my latest venture. But look, it's just solely about the love of music. Yeah, just finding new bands, hearing new stuff. You know, hearing what bands are doing and how they're mixing sounds, changing sounds, developing their style. It's just, it's a whirlwind, isn't it? Like what's out there, the underground scene is vast.
And how did the two of you meet up? Like, did you ever review stuff before, Pat?
No, do you know what it was? Thor was an administrator on one of the groups there on Facebook. It was sort of
still am officially,
and still there, a post-rock and post-metal and derivatives group, which basically covered all kinds of music, and there was, you know, people just threw in albums that they purchased or albums that they thought deserved a mention. And I think Thorsten was somebody was complaining to say that we were always mentioning the same old bands, the same big bands, the big hitters.
Yeah, he said, like, we always mention Neurosis, Cult of Luna, and ISIS, and that's it.
Yeah. So the challenge was set, and Thorsten said, look, we can give you names of bands every day, which started the 30-day challenge. And Thorsten asked me would I do 30 days of mentioning bands that people wouldn't really hear too much about, you know?
Okay, yeah.
So that's what we did. That's how I got to know Thorsten. Basically, I just spent 30 days sending in music and obviously trying to play on the Irish scene a bit, you know. I played, you know, I gave bands like The Grief, Norm Mattis, God is an Astronaut. What else did we mention? Plenty of bands like
cool.
Rome Kingdom, Parhila, you name it, you know.
Yeah.
So then Thorsten again thought it was a great idea, going sort of bringing countries into it, and the whole thing just snowballed literally, Thor, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know, there was bands being mentioned that hadn't been heard in years. Like, it was great.
Yeah. And it's funny to see that one of those first bands that I ever mentioned just released another EP 3 weeks ago, and that was Iceburn, one of my all-time favorite post-metal, sludge, jazz, avant-garde, whatever you want to call it, bands. I just love them.
And where are they from, Thor?
Salt Lake City, Utah.
Oh, okay. Now, I know, like with Pat, anyway, being an absolute vinyl junkie, a dangerous vinyl junkie, insofar as he's recommending stuff there that, like, oh, God, you know, I have to fucking listen to it and then just seize the opportunity because that EP or album might never be available again in this pressing.
Exactly, yeah. You have to get it, Richie.
Oh, man.
You know, it's addictive.
It is addictive, 100%. But I definitely paid the most I've ever paid for an album, which was for the band.
We Lost the Sea, I'd say.
We Lost the Sea.
Oh,
I paid
Departure Songs, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
I paid €56 for a band that I didn't know anything about, that I did hear of, but I didn't know anything about. Like, I mean, would I pay that for Slayer or Power Trip and stuff? Probably not. And just
probably not. No.
But like, it was Pat pushed it, and I went, yeah. And then he's been peddling it away to a lot of my friends as well. So he is definitely one to watch in relation to.
I think I'm becoming a bit of a pest to some people, actually. Yeah.
Have you the same instincts, Thorsten, to recommend vinyl and push vinyl on people?
I think I'm not one of those guys who pushes pressings or certain looks or certain variants. But I think you have to ask Pat that question, by the way, not me. I could say something about him pushing stuff, but...
Yeah, some people get carried away and they have 5 and 6 variants of the same album. You know, it's crazy. They're trying to keep up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a case of, if it's an album that needs to be in my collection, I'll get it on whatever version I can get hold of. It's, you know, you keep an eye out, like, and the money's, as you know, the money's crazy. Like, there's some stuff out, like, I won't even tell you what I paid for some stuff, you know, because this is going live, like, I mean.
Yeah, because you're just afraid Regina might hear it.
She has an idea how much, with a ballpark figure, like, so, yeah.
Suffice to say, over COVID, both our postmen, Pat, just fucking are sick to death of heading to our houses with packages.
Daily. It's daily in my house. It's crazy, like, yeah. And then you've got the kids then as well, like with JD Sports, and fuck, the man is carrying stuff to the door like this, like, you know, with my record on top, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a brilliant one there off a mate of mine. I was drinking with him last night, Brian Harris. Shout out to Brian. He bought a Rob Zombie print, and he contacted the seller saying he never got it. But between the jigs and reels of it, there was an Amazon delivery and a few other things. And the Amazon delivery, he thought was what it wasn't at all. It was actually the Rob Zombie print. So it was put out for around 4 or 5 weeks in the shed because he didn't need that Amazon delivery. And he contacted the seller going, listen, man, I haven't got your Rob Zombie print. And the man said, Jesus, someone signed for it, you know? And then it just kind of went, oh, fuck, could be that Amazon delivery out in the shade. And sure enough, there was Rob Zombie. You know, so it's probably a common occurrence, or just buying stuff that you can't even remember buying.
That's the problem. Pre-orders, Rich, as you know, because you're we'll have to see as a pre-order, like, you know, and I probably should have given you a heads up on that one. But pre-orders 6 and 8 months ahead of time, which is probably, I don't know, is it crazy? You're buying albums based on 1 or 2 songs. I know it's the way things are going at the moment for bands that try and create a bit of a buzz around their albums, I suppose, at release, you know.
What should I say? 2 months ago, I pre-ordered a 7-inch box from Discord Records, where they explicitly say it will not be shipped before Christmas.
Oh, man, there you go.
But the good thing is, and that's what I liked about it, they said they will keep pre-orders up until a very certain day, I think like a week ago or so. And whoever didn't put it in an order by then will not get anything.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing, I think, you know, no overhaul.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's just constant represses, Rich, as you know, as well. Like, you know, you know, people were out chasing first press editions of this and that album because it'll never be found again. And then you've got 3 different record labels printing them again, you know, pressing them again. So look, once you have a copy of an album, I think that's it. You know, enjoy it and just.
And in relation then to the website then, lads, so you've got like playlists, there's interviews with bands, then there's a specials section as well, and obviously the reviews. What was the idea of having so many things on the website?
Well, first of all, I think it's not even that many because we don't put in any kind of concert reviews. We don't put in any kind of news. We don't put in anything about vinyl variants or stuff.
Right.
We only rarely do something about represses. And there is another category which we cannot say too much about, but it has got to do something with labels, and we will disclose it to the public in like 4 or 5 weeks when it goes online. Everybody should check back then because that is something that has never been done. Right. And I figure that apart from the nerds in our team, nobody would ever do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the way that most of the stuff is pretty damn forward, you know, like reviews are reviews, interviews are interviews, and specials are anything like longer specials. We had a very long special on the post scene in Budapest, on the black metal collective in Zurich. Right now, I'm stretching my fingers to a certain label in Belgium that our friend back there is displaying in the very back. I like to have short reads. I also like to have some longer reads. You know, I think if you really dig into something for a long, long while, and if you really make it worthwhile reading, then it can also go above and beyond 5,000-6,000 words.
And what about audience reach then, Thorsten? Is it, as you said, there's plenty of nerds that'd be into it. I loved the whole setup of the website. I mean, it was just something for everybody, really. How do you increase your fan base?
Well, we are active on Facebook and Instagram. We, of course, by now have contacts to labels who also already put us out. We have a few labels that deeply want to work with us and that also mention us in their promos and stuff. And also, of course, being able to premiere a lot of videos or songs that gives you a wider reach. Yes. In a few months, we will have some premieres by some very big European labels, and I think that will also increase it a lot. And basically, on the other hand, I think if we were exploding from 0 to 20,000 people a day, that would also not be good. I rather keep it like a constant growth, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, at the moment we're like somewhere between 400 and 500 people visiting the website each day, and that has been constant ever since, growing a little bit. Biggest thing is that it hasn't gone down. That's at the moment, I think, the most important thing for a web scene that's been up not even 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I noticed as well, Richie, like on the Instagram side of it, you know, is people getting back to us and complimenting the quality of the interviews, you know, and the quality of the reviews. You know, it's not a case of copy and pasting the press release, you know.
You'll be found out pretty fast.
You're found out pretty fast. So like everyone on our team, like they're, as you know, Thor, like you created that team, you got on to everybody. Fantastic bunch of guys, nerds, music nerds, obviously, like, but the knowledge, like, and the ear they have for sound is incredible, like, and they're able to put pen to paper then and express it. You know, it's something that not everybody can do and not everybody enjoys, because you know yourself that you get inundated with music as well, like, have no doubt.
Oh, fact. But
So,
I mean, like especially with COVID as well, and the amount, the volume of music being submitted to the likes of me and ye as reviewers, like reviewers are quickly becoming a kind of very important cog in the whole machine in relation to the bands and also for fans as well to reach a bigger audience. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. But I think there's also a silent agreement between all writers for Veil of Sound that we only write positive reviews. If we don't like something, we don't write about it.
Ah, okay.
And you will not find a review at Veil of Sound where we try to ridicule the band or say something bad or rip the band apart. That's not our style. I think there are way too many sites who do that. There are way too many influencers on YouTube who look a little bit like me who do that. Not our kind of style.
Yeah.
No.
But ultimately, you're educating the readers about the band, you know, I mean, that's your responsibility as well. And, you know, it's a lot easier, I think, writing about music and albums than, for instance, movies and books. Like you could spoil the ending without the drama of it.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. It is, definitely. Because I also think that for music, one of the most important things is the emotion that is being transported. That's, for example, what I know that Pat loves about post-rock. A lot of it is instrumental, and still there is an emotional connection to the whole thing. And that is something that we all really like. You know, music has to bring across some kind of emotion, whether it's avant-garde doom or ambient metal or whatever it should be.
Yeah. I mean, the 8 or 9 of us that are writing, Richie, like everybody has sort of an area that they like more than others, you know, like as Thor said, like post-black, you know, and post-metal, post-rock would be sort of where I am at the moment. Like, Thorsten then obviously can fucking cover anything, you name it, like, you know.
Don't give me a jazz record.
There's somebody for everything, you know, for every genre there. There's somebody who can take it on and say, yeah, that's mine, I'll own this, and put out a fantastic review if the music is great. As Thorsten said, no one wants to review something that they don't enjoy, because it's you see it when you read it, then you can get the feedback, like, you know. So constructive criticism is good. But there's no one would ever slate any music on this that so it's not our thing, like.
Time management with both of you, how do you work with that? Because I mean, obviously if the dedicate sufficient time to create and shape your comments in relation to the album or whatever the form of music you've been given, be it an EP or format. And I suppose as well, whatever you say will obviously help the musicians as well to improve their work. So time is is it a constraint sometimes?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, like, we all got normal day jobs. We all got families. Apart from one of us, everybody got kids. No, 2 actually, right? I think, 2 do not have kids. And otherwise, it's just very much, at least for me, I don't know how it is with Pat. For me, it is something that has to do a lot with the music. You know, there can be records which instantly give me an idea of what I want to write about, and then the thing can be done. I don't know. I won't say which one of my last 10 or 20 reviews, but there was a review which was written in 12 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that is also then really a rarity. I would say normally without the listening part, it's like an hour, maybe an hour and 30. But I think Pat will also say the same. You know, you get used to it, and you become a little bit quicker.
Okay. Yeah, well, like you've experienced Thor there. You've 20 years doing this, like, you know. So
yeah.
This is water off a duck's back, like for Thor, like. But for the likes of me, which I'm only doing it nearly a year, I sort of need to feel an album for 4 or 5 days. You know, I'll play it, and I'll play it in the car. I'll play it on my break and work, and you know, and wherever I'm out and about, going for a walk or going for a jog, and I'll play the album. Then I'll sit down and listen to it, and literally sort of like wear my heart on my sleeve and just boom, put down.
Yeah.
How I feel, what it does for me. Like, there's so many different ways to write a review as well, you know. Everyone has their own technique. And
so we'll say, Pat, if you've settled on, we'll say what you're happy with as a review. Do you send it on to, does someone edit that or someone look at it?
No, we've got to a stage now, Thor set us up, and Sebastian, the mighty Sebastian, has set us up. So we upload our own reviews.
Okay, so
there's no one really oversees them afterwards. Once I upload one, it goes on the site.
But
or do you check?
It's very interesting that not all of us read every review, but every review gets to be read by someone. You know, I keep myself, you know, like waking up in the morning and looking at a review that somebody wrote the other day or so, and if we find something where, like, a few weeks ago, Pat sent me something like, "Oh, there's a mistake in that review. It should be seems and not sees." Okay, then we correct it, and that's done within a minute.
Yeah, pedantic Pat. Yeah.
No. That's not pedantic. That is just like that's the way it should be.
Yeah, but like that, what I'm getting to is that we'll say for you, Thor, have you challenged? You don't need to name names, but over we'll say 20 years maybe that you're in the position now that like you can challenge, say, reviewers to write better quality. Have you ever kind of had to bite your tongue and just go? Do you know, just to to challenge them to write better?
You mean that I challenge my reviewers?
Or have you in the past, not even challenge them, but just encourage them to maybe express themselves more because
no.
Okay.
That also, I think, is largely due to the fact that whoever gets to write for Veil of Sound first has to put in like an exemplary review with me. And I check it, and if I like it, and if I think it's a good style of writing, then he is... It sounds stupid, but then he's allowed to come on board. Yeah. Because a few months ago, we had somebody trying to write for us, and his style, there were no spelling mistakes or anything like that, but his style of writing was just too blatant colloquial. And, I don't want to put a PG-13 or, like a rated R version of Veil of Sound online.
No, you can work away with this. There's no problem.
Yeah, I don't want to have somebody write like a lot of swear words in his reviews.
Okay.
And otherwise, what we do sometimes do is, for example, when we have a few people who edit the other one, which is totally fine with us.
Yeah.
I think being an English teacher, I'm able to write at least a little bit of English. I think it works. Sometimes I find I'm at a lack of words right now, for example. But otherwise, most of us are pretty good at it. And what we do is when we do interviews, and especially when it's a person who does an interview for the first time, then we work together, we develop the questions together, and that is something that we do all the time, which is also, I think, a brilliant way of doing it because it throws in totally different questions.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I suppose it needs to be mentioned too, Richie, like we have the reviewers, they're from all over the world, like, aren't we? I mean,
3 different continents.
3 continents. So like there's guys their native language isn't English. They don't speak English as their first language, and and they're putting out reviews that are top drawer. Like and they've no problems, no qualms in going to somebody else on the team and saying, would you mind looking over this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you mind checking it for me? Yeah. And look, it's a great crew, like a great crew.
It's also a way that sometimes, I mean, like every one of us comes to a dead stop. And I remember a few months ago when Pat told me like, oh, I'm not finding anything new. And I was like, how long have you been looking? And I was like, oh, for like 3 or 4 days. And I was like, okay. But then we just ask everybody in the group because, we're all such a bunch of nerds that everybody is listening to something new. Something new, something fresh always comes our way.
Mm.
Yeah.
Bandcamp is a huge place for it, Richie,
Yeah.
If something that doesn't hit me in our inbox immediately, I just go straight to Bandcamp and see what new releases are in.
Yeah.
Have a quick listen, and what a place to find music. I mean,
and Pat is also the one with the best nose for new talent. Like he comes up with stuff that none of us have ever heard before, and he just brings up brilliant bands. Yeah, definitely, all the time.
Yeah,
I do enjoy that side of it. Yeah,
like in my opinion, I think there's way more bad bands out there than good bands, and the challenge is trying to find these, and it must be a bit demoralizing sometimes, as you went through there, Pat, that you probably went through a week or 2 weeks of not finding anything that sounds good to you. So it's handy then you can turn to the team and go, lads,
there you go, that's it. Like there's 8 of us, is it, Thorsten? And we have the group. We just throw it out there. Anyone hear anything new recently, and someone will drop something, because we all know what we like. Yeah, we all know what music pushes our buttons. So
and if there is anybody who listens to this podcast and thinks he would like to join the bunch of nerds that do Veil of Sound, we're always open.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. That's why you're on tonight, lads. It's a recruitment.
We're hiring but not paying.
So I'm glad you mentioned as well, Pat. You said there that you listened to it in the car, walking and stuff like that. What about, do you remember the old days when you could, look at the back of an album and the inlay sleeve to see who produced it, who was involved in it? Are all of you like that still?
Well, I suppose that's where the vinyl side of it came for me, because you have this physical copy of something. Digital is fantastic to hear something first off and get your head around the band, but if you love the music, I think you just have to have a hard copy of something, and justify it. And again, it's all about looking after the bands. These guys are putting fucking blood, sweat, and tears into music, you've the likes of Spotify that's literally crippling the business, So Bandcamp is just
Bandcamp will give you the information that you need, especially
it's all there. And what I noticed as well, is you can contact the bands, back in the day when you grew up listening to Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, you name it, Maiden, you never heard these guys, you never spoke to these guys. But now, with what we're listening to at the moment, this underground scene,
that's a great.
You ping a message to somebody and they're back to you saying, thanks for the review. Do you want the CD? It's a fantastic community. It's brilliant.
That's very much a great point there in relation to bands are so approachable these days.
Unbelievably so,
Also because I think that a lot of the bands who make music nowadays know that they are not going to make a lot of money through it. So they also just do it for the fun of it, for the love of it, and also in some ways just for the art of it. And there has even come a point for us at Veil of Sound where we have been thinking about what we could do next. And one thing that we came up with, and that is something that will start in a few weeks, we will have musicians review their favorite albums. And blimey, there have been such interesting, unexpected, and awesome choices. It's been fantastic seeing those come in. Of course, we also have the Neurosis review from a German musician who I can call my friend. But we also have people from overseas who just say, oh yeah, we would be totally into that, doing a guest review, and we choose anything we want. And of course, we always say yes, and no problem. And the choices have been awesome.
Yeah, like the perks of doing this, like even the podcast and reviewing as well, is you do get to listen to free music. And I love building up a relationship with a band as well, just through, maybe getting their song on the podcast or getting them on themselves, on the podcast. What other perks do you enjoy with reviewing?
Well, for me, it's the nerd talk. I mean, like also with the guys in our very own Facebook group, the nerd talk that is around it. And of course, being able to talk to those people, finding out why they wrote that, what interests them.
Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We're still hoping for tickets to Hellfest next year.
You can wish.
Actually, I don't. It's too bloody big.
That's true, yeah.
But I mean, you definitely get to talk to other music lovers. I think that's very important as well, chatting to people that are just out there loving the music as well, because you'll hear opinions that mightn't necessarily you agree with, but certainly they'll definitely put you into a different thought space in relation to bands, or they could actually just put you onto another band that that you wouldn't have heard of,
Do you know, for me, sorry, Thor,
No, you go first.
Yeah, for me, like it's the perk, like, if you follow a band and you like their music and there's a new album coming out, to be one of the first to get a glimpse and a listen to it is a huge plus for me. Like, I'm like a fucking kid in a sweet shop when I hear that a band are bringing something out, and you just, as I said, you touch base with them through Messenger, give them a heads up that you're reviewing through Ayla Sound. Would you mind sending it on? And of course, if they know the site, which they mostly they all have, they're back in touch and they're sending it to you, and happy days, listen to music.
We have like a very, very good example. I guess both of you, I know Pat has, I guess Richie, you also did. Year of No Light has put out an amazing record a few weeks ago. And they don't do many interviews, but they do. And being the fearless MF that I am, I just simply wrote one of the guys on Facebook and I told them, okay, we would like to do this, we would like to do that. How about either of the three choices? And 3 hours later he replies, we're in for all of them.
Yeah, there you go, man.
And there you go again, it's just being in contact with the bands, it's a drop of a message, like it's brilliant. That the scene is fantastic because of that.
I mean, like, you gave me Brute, Pat, and next minute I'm talking to the lads in Brute, and
there you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Would you mind if we reviewed your single on the Metal Cell forums? Yeah, no problem. And then like there's a dialogue going on there, and that maybe a year down the line, if they're playing in Ireland or whatever, you just go, all right, lads, it's Richie from the Metal Cell or things, and they go, all right,
that's it.
That's the reward.
Yeah.
Better than fucking any money.
In the Cypress Avenue, is it, Richie? That's where you've landed, is it?
We wish,
yeah.
Do a lot of you read music magazines?
Not anymore.
Okay. They're not really out there to read.
Well, no. In Germany we have a few of them, but apart from the usual Metal Hammer and Rock Hard and whatever name it is asked nowadays, I find it hard to find a magazine which somehow suits my horrible eclectic taste.
That's fair enough.
Your taste is incredible. Like, the spectrum is huge. Like, I'm definitely a bit more
DJ Shadow.
DJ Shadow.
One of my favorites.
I like DJ Shadow. Absolutely, yeah.
Not bad.
Nice name check.
We can also say ISIS is the next one.
But I mean, like, I'm still subscribed to a UK magazine. They do one magazine a month. I can't remember the name of it offhand.
You read it so often?
Yeah, it's, as I said, it's still there. I'm paying money to them, and they've got fantastic writers on that magazine. And I like the physical copy of having it in my hand and reading through it. Pat, no?
Not since, I'd say, Terrorizer magazine back in the mid-90s. That was my
You can
Bible.
still subscribe to that, actually, yeah.
It's probably still there, yeah. But again, it's changed, I mean, back at the time when I was getting Terrorizer magazine, it was for the love of doom metal. That was my fucking thing then. Like Anathema's, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride.
Yeah.
Terrorizer was the Bible for those bands. You know, that's how us in Ireland got to find out about these bands. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known.
Same in Germany.
Yeah. So since then, no, I haven't really. I suppose since the advent of these type of chat shows, podcasts, webzines, it's a dying trade, isn't it?
No, I'm just kind of fascinated in relation to you as reviewers. Like, I do feel the need that are you consciously building up your vocabulary to describe the great metaphor for verbs, you know, adjectives, you know, music does things and it evokes things. So you need to be able to describe both.
That is something that I do very often online. And I read a lot of stuff online. There is one interview online magazine that I follow by heart, and that is Bardo Methodology. The guy is only about black metal, but
I've come across him. Yes,
brilliant stuff.
Yeah.
And lots of other magazines and websites that I visit. Although, of course, I have to admit that over the last couple of months, the number of webzines that I visit regularly has gone down. Mm-hmm. But Bardo, I follow. Whenever he puts out something new, I'm onto it. And also, I have a subscription to an app which is called Readly. So I read a lot of magazines online. So
okay,
not necessarily music magazines, but English written magazines. Yeah.
I find that, like, if I don't read a book in around 3 or 4 weeks, my vocabulary tends to go to shit fairly fast. Like, you know.
Oh, I'm there with you, Richie. Yeah. There's days I sit in front of trying to think of a fucking word to describe something. And I've used that in my last 2 reviews. I can't use the same word again. But there's times where you can hit that because the genre can be very specific and very, whether it be melancholic music, dark music, you can't help but use the same words, you know. They just crop up, but you do try and vary it, we'd say. Yeah. So reading is
and if you get self-doubt in relation to your reviews, like, do you feel, is what I'm doing worthwhile? Does anybody read it? Do any of you go through that?
Constantly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Constantly. But I never ever had a doubt about doing it. I still think that I do that constantly. Like, I'm like one of those nerds who checks the visits like every day. Or also look up how many people reached with our Facebook posts and stuff. Sebastian calls me a little bit fanatic about that. Yes, I am. But it never comes to the point where I say, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
That never occurs.
Well, I suppose when one of my reviews go up, I'd always contact the band and tell them, lads, your review's up on Veil of Sound, hope you like it. And if they come back and they say, Pat, that was a great review, thanks, that's me happy, you know. It doesn't matter how many people see it, Richie, or hear it, but once the band acknowledge it and appreciate what we put into it, that's gold, like, you know.
That is definitely true. That is probably the best reward for us. That's true.
Absolutely,
yeah. I mean, it's the same with the podcast. Again, it's just you know, you put so much time, you put so much effort to it, and then there's always the self-doubt, like, you know, what could I possibly do anymore? Can I improve it? I'm like you, Thor, in that way. It's just, I am watching figures, numbers, and downloads and stuff, and you know, you do as much as you can, and you give back to the band what they gave you, and then you give them the links. This is the thing, and if they don't share it, that's probably one of my pet hates, that you give them all this time, and then here are all the links. So literally, I've done everything for you. There's clips. That's it. Share it, please. And then they don't, you know, or just they put it on a story and it's gone in a second, you know. So that would be a pet hate of mine in relation
Likewise, Richie, I'd say, like I said, when you contact the band and they say, great, we'll share this, and you don't see it being shared, that can be a bit of a kick in the teeth, all right? Because, you know, it's a simple thing. Like, you know, you spend 5-6 days, well, for me, 5-6 days thinking about an album, doing the best you can to promote it, and and show the guys in a good light, and then for them to say, yeah, we'll share that, and nothing. It can be a bit of a kick in the teeth,
yeah.
But that seldom happens, I have to say. It seldom happens.
True, you're right. Yeah, it seldom happens. Yeah,
but it's
when it does, it just.
Oh, it's there. You can tell at work there when neither of us are talking to each other. Nobody's heard it. Yeah.
The ability of a reviewer to play an instrument. Okay, is that an essential quality as a reviewer? Because I know there's musicians out there that will read reviews and be critical of the reviewer, saying that person does not play music and does not understand the album or EP.
My reply would be, if a musician thinks that way, then he's talking about techniques and he's talking about skills. But when I'm listening to music, I'm not listening to something being played in a certain rhythm or something being highly technical. I'm looking for something that gives me some kind of emotional value. And if he or she doesn't understand that, then, to be straightforward, then I don't give a shit, because then he's all about techniques and technology, and then it's not about emotion for his music, and then
exactly, yeah. You can't write about something without putting emotion into it, and that's what a reviewer looks for in music. I mean, if you want to talk technique, go directly to the musician, and he'll tell you about the technique they used in creating the music. But for the music lover who likes to listen to music, that's where the reviews come in. You're basically, your heart is on your sleeve and it's going onto the pen, on pen to paper, that you're saying exactly how that music makes you feel. And that's what a reviewer does, like, for me, anyway.
Yeah, and of course, if it was another musician reviewing a musician or a band, I'm sure he'd be comparing, how I do this differently.
Yeah.
So there'd be that slant to the review that could possibly spoil it as well.
Yeah. Although, of course, we all have to admit that there are a few things that have to be expressed clearly. A reviewer should know the difference between a cymbal and a tom, or between a snare and the bass drum, or between, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is something that he should be able to. But however, just like Pat said, the most important thing is the emotion behind it.
Yeah. Once it's not pretentious or linguistic diarrhea that just will immediately just go, oh, fucking hell, this guy is more interested in furthering his own career as a reviewer than...
And that's also the
and
reviews
these guys
that are
out
highly
there.
appreciated. Yeah, of course. But that are also the reviews that are not really appreciated by the public. I mean, like, how many of music lovers out there really know the difference between a song being played in this rhythm or that rhythm? To him, it's fast or slow. He doesn't see the difference between a 16th and a 32th. It's like...
Yeah. Like, you want to engage the person who's reading your review. You don't want to bore them with technicalities like that. You just want to get to the core of the music and what they should feel and what they should see in it. So there's that aspect to it. I don't think you should be getting bogged down in too much detail. It's how music makes you feel at the end of the day. That's how I write my reviews.
Yeah, I think one of your reviews that stood out to me, and I was shocked that you did season it, because, as I said, I'm all about name checking tonight, so name check as many bands as you want, lads. Was Old Blue Eyes.
That guy's a good one.
Yeah. That caught me off guard completely.
The way you wrote about that, you summed up what I was feeling about that music perfectly.
Yeah, there you go. And again, it's just literally wrote it as I listened to it and how it made me feel. It's hard to describe, I suppose. Here, I know I'm great to put it on paper, but trying to verbally.
I know he was very happy with what you wrote about it, man.
Yeah. He was. But that's something that we witnessed with many reviews. I cannot say which band, but I can say that one band that we reviewed in May, got a label contract because of our review.
Wow, class.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you will know in a few weeks when there will be some news about a record coming up.
Fantastic.
I'm glad you actually brought that up, Thor. Championing bands, bands that you're passionate about. We're
not passionate about that.
Who are the standout acts of this year so far? I mean, it's July now, so
I knew that question would come up. I thought about it, and damn me, I forgot all about it again. Year of No Light, definitely one of the records this year for me. That was one.
Where are they from?
From France.
Okay.
So Consolamentum, which is out since early July on Pelagic. That's a record that everybody should be listening to. Because it's just mind-blowingly good.
What genre?
I've already mentioned. What is it? Post-metal.
Post-metal, okay.
Then the new Iceburn, as I already mentioned, like a mix of sludge and doom and post-metal is awesome. I don't want to drop one name that Pat will be mentioning, so I say Ison from I forgot where, but his record Aurora is just mind-blowingly good, beautifully lush, shoegazy kind of noise, I would say.
Okay.
If you're into ambient stuff, you must listen to Lustmord featuring Karen Park and their album Alter out on Pelagic, which is brilliant. She sounds just like Lisa Gerrard from Dead Can Dance, and perfect.
Nice.
Maybe the black metal thing that I came across here was Koldovstvo, Nitsaria, Niboga. I don't know where the guys are from because they don't tell. I got no name. I got no nothing. They're out on Babylon Doom Records.
Okay, so you can track them that way.
And two more that I have to mention are Non Serviam, Le Cœur Bat from France. The album is called Le Cœur Bat, the band Non Serviam. If you like a mix between Refused and Atari Teenage Riot, that's your band. And I have to push another German band who I hold dearly. It's I just say it out how I read it, and it's Commander Riker, but they're shortened to CMDRRIKR.
Okay. Yeah.
They play like psychedelic music, all great stuff, and I could probably go on forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, as I said, just let's name check bands there, Pat.
Yeah. So many highlights. Jesus.
If you don't mention the guys from France, then I'm mad at you.
Well, I went through a phase there. I hit 4 French bands in a row, like it was mad. I had Where Mermaids Drown. We had When Waves Collide.
Brute.
The big one.
Brute, obviously, like
yes,
without a shout. But look, as Richie knows, Richie's even given them a big shout out here already. That album is something different and something special. Like that will be spoken about 10, 20 years time. That album was something.
Is there this massive scene, like, because I wouldn't know too much about the post-metal side of things, but like, is there a massive scene coming out of France at the moment?
Yeah.
Seems to be, yeah.
Definitely.
Nice.
I would say that France, Switzerland, Holland, those are the 3 main players in post-rock.
Okay.
Post-black is huge at the moment as well, isn't it? Post-black, the Russians
Holland
are dominating.
Holland is huge at black metal and doom metal. The latest Bong Ra album, which was repressed now on Tartarus Records. If you ever want to listen to a mix of breakcore and jazz and doom, that's your record.
What is it?
Bong Ra.
Bong Ra. Okay, never heard of them now. I'll definitely be checking them out.
The record is called Antediluvian.
Wow. See the way he can fucking ream them off his head there, no problem.
The man is a thesaurus and a dictionary just rolled into one. It's incredible. Like, I should be taking notes here. But again, what I forgot to mention, Richie, was The Grief was a fantastic release earlier in the year. Again, brought me back to my old days, like of listening to, as I said, Anathema, Paradise Lost, My Dying Bride. These guys have just modernized it and brought it into 2021,
Yes, definitely.
It's fantastic, and there's a wave of that happening as well. Like that, there's another scene there again.
I was just going to mention that Doom is back, and it's good.
It is back,
yeah. What about acts then that really frustrate you? Bands that you're just going, oh my God, you know, what's happening with them? There's definitely probably 2 or 3 that come to mind straight away.
Are they not releasing something, is it?
Yes.
Are we waiting for a release?
They really frustrate you, how slow they are, that you just can't seem to get a release out.
Well, there was one for me, but I know there's one coming. I only heard a couple of weeks ago they have an album, is a band called Black. I think I spoke to you as well, Richard, there recently about these guys. Catalonian guys. They're sort of based, sort of post-rock, would it be a neoclassical sound with a bit of Spanish guitaring thrown in. It's fantastic. Heavily emotive music.
Black without a C, ladies and gentlemen.
B-L-A-K,
B-L-A-K.
Because I said that to you. I mean, that's a bad name to have. So they obviously got rid of the C, so therefore you can find them easily enough.
You can find them easy enough. And again, they were tied in with Elusive Sound, which, you know, gave them a great opportunity there back in the album they had 3 years ago.
Elusive Sound are gone now. Are they winding down, Pat, did you say?
They are.
They have 3 more releases and then we're down.
Okay.
Yeah. And we just mentioned 2.
Pat's going to cry.
Yeah. It's going to be an emotional day. Like Philippe, Remo, Josh, the gang, we're going to miss them. Elusive Sound have been incredible.
Big shout out to them.
Even what they've done for the scene has been incredible, you know?
Yeah.
All these labels like Antigone Records, all the guys, Francesco and them, you know, the work they do.
The passion.
Voice of the Unheard, you know, all these guys. It's amazing what they're doing in the background.
Wouldn't you two agree that we now are able to mention all of these because of the globalization and the internet?
Mm-hmm.
Because 20 years ago,
very niche.
Very niche. And 20 years ago, we wouldn't have found those bands because nobody in Germany or in Ireland would have been talking about them.
No.
I mean, I still say my record of last year, Post Vortas Polyma, a record which reinvents post-metal just like Refuse reinvented post-hardcore or hardcore in general. I would never have heard that 20 years ago because nobody would have spoken about it. So
you'd just be lucky if they came into your city, and then it was just down to word of mouth, really.
Yeah, and the thing is, the internet is a blessing and a curse at the same time. But I mean, if you have guys like Pat who bring up the pearls out of muddy waters, then that's perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to mention 10 Ton Slug from Ireland again, another frustratingly slow band.
Soothsayer.
The slug is the giveaway there, isn't it?
But so 10 Ton Slug, we're all waiting, but they're in the middle of the recording process. I think actually the album is in the can again, but when it's going to be released is another matter. Thor, any band there, I know you could name 20, but just name one that just is frustratingly slow for you to get a release out.
You know what? I'm not frustrated by music. I'm also not frustrated by waiting. I just take it as it is because there's tons of stuff out there that I can listen to. No level of frustration here.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I would like to think as well, Richie, their Part Alone have some. I'm hoping they have something coming out soon because again, this genre that we find ourselves in here and what Ayla Sound covers a lot of, this post-metal scene, you know, that their last album was a big hit, it was a good one. It was a good one. And Realm Kingdom, another great band. I can't wait to hear.
I think I've heard that Realm Kingdom was writing again, right?
Yeah,
they have to go with the loss of one of their guys, right? And then
yes,
I think Dave mentioned something about again, shout out to Dave from Realm Kingdom. Mentioned something about putting some stuff to paper.
Festivals and gigs. We have none at the moment, but I know Pat
I do. I went to a gig 2 days ago.
There's always one guy, isn't there?
I saw the pictures. It wasn't pretty. It was not pretty.
It was pretty. You're just jealous.
No. There was something wrong.
Were you all sitting down looking at a band on stage, yeah?
Yeah, it was a little bit even more than that. I have to congratulate my wife on her good taste in music and soul music and R&B and all of that. So there is a German soul singer from Hamburg whom she likes, and we were lucky that 70 kilometers away from here, we have a city which provided a festival season. So they have a concert every night, but with seats. And there is something that we have in Germany. I know nobody else has it. It's called Strandkorb. It's like a huge wooden basket which you can sit on, lean in. It even has like a top, so if it rains, you don't get wet. And they had like, I think 600 or 700 of those in the audience. It was awesome.
Wow.
And when the first 10 seconds were on, I looked at my wife and we were both in tears.
Yeah, of course you would be. Yeah, it's a natural reaction to something that we've been deprived for a year and a half.
584 days.
It's been crazy. We all miss it. Like it's
584 days.
Now, have you crossed paths?
It's been a huge void, like, isn't it?
At Dunk Festival, Pat, or anything like that? Have yourself and Thor crossed paths at festivals like the Dunk or anything like that? No? Roadburn or anything like that?
Through Facebook that we first made contact with them.
I still bet, Pat, that we were at Fred Zeppelin's at the same time 20 years ago.
Oh.
I still bet on it.
I believe it. I believe we were.
But then you were even better looking than you are now, and I still had hair.
So what can I say? Like,
And I still had hair.
Oh my God, Thor, you were in Cork. You were in the People's Republic of Cork. Tell us about it, man.
Yes, I studied at UCC for a year.
Oh, fucking hell, that's mad. So what bands did you see? I mean, I wouldn't fucking doubt your memory.
Actually, I only saw a few local bands who I really forgot. I know that we went on to see U2 on tour that year, but it was in Dublin. I know that I saw Ash that year. Remember, those were the days when
when was this actually? Let's put it into perspective. Was it if you saw Ash?
2002, 2003.
Okay, so that's different altogether.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
And I still remember.
What was your local pub, Thor? Where did you frequent?
McGallagher's. Gallagher's on
Curtin Street. Yeah.
And it was a shame. Like, you told me that it's reopened. When I was in Cork 9 years ago, it was closed, and I wanted to show my wife, like, that's where your husband always hung out. And we were just rocking up the corner of Curtin Street, and she was like, "There is no pub," and I was like,
"Yeah, it's open again, but it's not really a pub anymore. It's a restaurant. It's more restaurant, Richie, isn't it?"
Yeah, it is. And so, you were buying records where at that stage? In Cork.
Wasn't buying records. I had to save money for food and hospitality.
Oh, because you were a student. That's right, yeah.
And I still remember that Irish record prices for CDs were much higher than European ones.
Fact.
But I do remember that I made a pact with my best friend back in Germany, and I sent him money every month, like 50 euros or so, and I told him, like, get this 2 CDs and send them to me.
Yeah.
There you go, man. Brilliant.
And
did you get a fondness for any of the local brews, Beamish?
Being a straight edge hardcore kid, no.
He's honest anyway.
He's honest.
But I even went to what is the distillery in Middleton?
Jameson.
Yeah.
Great tour.
I even went there.
Yeah, cool. That's kudos.
I also kissed the Blarney Stone.
We guessed that.
And but the best thing about that time in Ireland was when I was at my university here in Germany, I asked them, like, what courses do I have to take in Cork? And they said, like, oh, you only have to take the courses that they tell you to. Mm-hmm. So I go to the student's office in Cork and I ask them, so, okay, which courses do I have to take here? And the lady behind the counter told me, oh, you only have to take the courses that the guys in Cologne want you to do. And I was like, okay. Ding, 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 ding.
I actually lived in Cologne for quite a while. Probably
Where?
4 or 5 months.
Where?
Where? I don't know is the answer, is the genuine answer. We inherited this guy's apartment and his record collection was second to none. I actually couldn't believe that he left his apartment to go work elsewhere and rented it out to us for nothing, for peanuts. Okay. And we had all his record collection, it was amazing. That was
And does he still have his record collection?
Yes, we treated it with respect. You know, you had to. Others
if only you could
wouldn't.
change. If only you could change that now, Richie. If you could go back in time, you take something away with you
Oh, man.
as a memento.
Yeah, great city, Clone, I must say. Really enjoyed it. Future ambitions for Veil of Sound before we wrap it up.
Oh, that's Thor's one.
Mine.
Oh yeah, it's your baby.
Yeah.
You tell us.
Oh, baby's growing.
Yes.
Ambitions. I think a lot of the things that I like to see for Veil of Sound are being set up at the moment.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that I want to do with the zine are gonna be disclosed in the upcoming quarter of the year.
Okay.
I do not want to become too big because with being too big, ambitions are connected. And I think ambitions is something that in some ways could kill the spontaneous nature and also the general nature of a zine. So, you know, that is difficult.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
I would like to come to a point where we have, like, let's say 12, 13, 14 writers.
How many have you at the moment? You're close enough to that,
Writing, we have 7.
Okay.
Writing, we have 7.
Reviewers?
Yeah, 7 reviewers.
Yeah.
Who also write interviews and stuff. And but I would say let's stick it to numbers because we've been talking about numbers. I think once the site reaches, let's say 2,000, 2,500 visits a day, then I'm more than happy. And everything that comes after that is a bonus. We already had days where we had that many visits. When we, for example, did a cover, like a landing page for Dunk Festival, as I now know it's pronounced, or when we hosted the landing page for Post Lyon, that we will also do next year.
Nice.
I like the way that we are interacting with labels, with musicians. So at the moment, I think we're pretty good. And whatever comes next is something that I cannot figure out at the moment because we're too busy feeding baby new stuff.
Yes.
But we could ask Pat what he would like. Pat, if you could review any band from any period of time for any record, which one would you choose? And Anathema is probably the only choice, but
that's it. Anathema's Serenades from '93. Yeah, it was a life changer for me. That album was an absolute.
Okay, we all know that. So number 2 on the list.
Give me a minute. We'll talk about something else. I'll come back to that one.
Yeah. Richie, where do you see yourself with your podcast?
It's growing steadily. It's not breaking records, but
I think that is a good thing, right? Not exploding. Yeah.
I'm the master of my own destiny, put it that way.
Yeah, that is very important.
So I'm not relying on others to take control. It's where it is at the moment. It's, what is it, 133, 134 episodes when this come out. So I'm quite happy the way it is, an episode every week. You know,
that is also something that I think is very important. You know, like you do that without getting any money for it, just like we do. I would never want to reach the point where we became so big that we would be getting paid for it, because if we get paid for it,
it's a different dynamic.
That's a different ballgame. You know, first of all, then you have to do this as a company, as a firm, and no, I want to keep this as the one thing that keeps my sanity apart from my family. You know, like my family is the first thing ever.
Yeah, and that's me.
Of course.
That's it. That's it, yeah.
You know, without music and without being able to write about it, I think I would also go insane. So, Pat, number 2 on the list.
It would probably be God is an Astronaut, All is Violent, All is Bright, because that's the album that catapulted me into the whole post genre. Really, that was seeing him in Cypress Avenue once upon a time. I was just completely fucking blown away by their show.
And the guys even have German roots, don't they?
They do. Should the name said fellow Thorsten? Yeah, but like these guys, you know, it just comes naturally to them. Like they can create emotion like you wouldn't see in any other music or any other genre. It's incredible. It's the last show they played in the Cypress Avenue maybe 4 or 5 years ago was, I know it's hard to explain, the emotion there. Like my brother came with me and we both stood in awe. Like at the second track, we were going, this is just something. It's hard to tell somebody, come see God Is an Astronaut, experience what we have experienced before, and just take it in. But yeah, it's something special. They're a special band. They're a special band. Yeah.
So
and they've done so much for the Irish scene.
Yeah, I was just going to say it, man. They're another great name check there.
Oh, big time. Yeah, they've done so much for the post scene in Ireland. They're bigger in Eastern Europe than they will ever be in Ireland. They've and all over the world really. But yeah, they deserve a shout out. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to finish this up. And lads, thanks a million for coming on the show. Best of luck with Veil of Sound.
Thanks for taking us.
Thank you very much, Rich.
And may it grow in relation to Thor's expectations. It's the best way of describing it, yeah?
Yeah.
Thanks,
he is a teacher. He'll be on top of it, don't you worry.
Okay, if you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe to the Metal Cell podcast, and thanks again to Pat and Thor for coming on the show. Support your local metal scene.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Cheers.